Great segue into my question targeted to you. There is an awareness amongst many people, and I think probably most, if not all, of the people in this room, that education is the single most important thing we can do to affect our future. And it is broadly. I mean, I say that thinking about the K through 12 and extended pipeline, but it's also the family, it's also the health and the nutrition of the child. It's that whole environment. But how do we overcome, and I showed you this before we came up here this morning, how do we overcome this opposition to taxes used to fund the schools? How do we overcome this ongoing attack on our K through 12 teachers that I think has just been over the top? It's kind of based on anecdote, not based on broad or pervasive evidence. How do we overcome, and we're doing better on the outcome side, but for years we were told we funneled all of this money into education and we're not getting any better outcomes. Those are three really good excuses for me not to go to a school board meeting, not to go to city council, county commission, and for me to just say, you got enough money right now. How do we overcome the problem?
That is a really tough, complicated problem. You can say that, and it's a pervasive cultural problem for all of us in East Tennessee. We all have to deal with county commissions and funding bodies and so forth. We in Knoxville right now, fortunately, have the most reputable third-party partner in the education business in the United States, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, helping us do a performance audit of every single thing we do to tell us what's working and what's not, so we can spend our money more smartly. I know we sort of get overdosed on data, but the way companies like Green Mountain Coffee decide to give to an educational initiative, and Matt spent his life putting this kind of data together, is to be able to show them the results. I can't help but believe that people, if they're paying any attention at all, and they find that Tennessee has had the greatest gains of any state in U.S. history on the NAEP exams, that they will say, they must be doing some smart things down there. Let's look and see what they are. We will have to convince our funding bodies by results. We have to show them. Mayor Burchett, who has been resistant to increasing the educational budget a couple of years ago, decided to put $3 million of additional resources into early reading because of the results we got in the pilot we had on early reading intervention, first grade intervention. So once the mayor saw, oh my gosh, we've moved these kids 20 points this year, that convinced him and he was willing to put the money up. So I would say, Matt, the first thing that we have to do is be willing to show those outcomes and those results so that people are willing to invest more. That'd be the first big answer.
Thank you, President. Stephanie, let's shift gears away from education for the moment, and it's going to come up again in our conversation this morning. But talk to us a little bit about the issue of regional cooperation and sustainability from the perspective of Green Mountain Coffee Roasters.
Sure. So sustainability is really a part of who we are. It's been a part of who we are for many years now. Our purpose statement at Green Mountain Coffee Roasters is to create the ultimate beverage experience in every life we touch from source to cup, transforming the way the world understands business. So with that as our purpose statement, we really strive to achieve that, and we have some values that we look towards in being able to attain that. So two of those values actually address cooperation and sustainability. So one of those is we partner for mutual success. So we really value and believe in taking a boundaryless approach to collaboration because we believe that that creates benefits for all involved. And the second value would be that we brew a better world. So that's a little bit of a pun on, our company and what we make as a beverage, but also just that, we can use the power of business to make the world a better place. So coming from that, we have three main sustainability initiatives in our company. One is really looking at our supply chain and building a strong supply chain. So with that, we really focus on hunger and food systems in our supply chain, especially in the coffee growing communities where we purchase our product. We focus on creating sustainable products. So a major initiative in this next upcoming year that we're looking to address is creating a recyclable K-Cup and really trying to be more environmentally friendly on that front. And then our third value for sustainability is thriving people and communities, and that's really what we have here locally that addresses, our employees and continuous learning, our volunteerism programs, our grants program, product donation, really that whole gamut of how do we make our communities thrive and how do we make our people thrive.
How does that fit with profit? I mean, some of the things you just talked about could be in conflict with the pursuit of profit for the company. So how does the profit motive mesh with sustainability? Because I think oftentimes people think they are in sharp conflict with one another.
I'd say our philosophy is actually that it's the opposite. So we really kind of look at the triple bottom line, and especially when it's investing in our supply chain and investing in our communities, that having a healthier supply chain and a healthier community is going to eventually come back to being able to build a healthier business. So they actually really work hand in hand. And in order to really accomplish those goals, that's where collaboration comes in, and being able to cooperate and collaborate with local government and other businesses in the area and charitable organizations. That's where the partnerships come in, because we couldn't meet our goals as far as sustainability goes without being able to have those strong partnerships.
Matt, let me shift to you and ask somewhat of a similar question. The produce at Market Square is wonderful, but you can go to one of the local grocery store chains and you can probably find similar produce. It's not the same, you can find similar produce cheaper. So how do you reconcile this issue of buying locally, using this local produce supply chain, and then the profit issue for a new restaurant? Because restaurants, any new business, it's a struggle to ensure profitability. So how do you reconcile that as a small business owner?
Well, margins are pretty tight for restaurants, small restaurants. So we pay a premium sometimes for the products we get. But I think the relational aspect of being able to work with farmers, knowing the quality, I know the difference in the quality. I think it's an education. I think I've grown up, my whole life learning that, and I think it makes for a better product for us to have better quality ingredients. And I think people, the more they're exposed to that, will appreciate that. So I think over time, again, buying locally and having a better product will be better for my business. But beyond that, fostering relationships with the local farmers, supporting them, and in turn allowing them to grow to where they can support me. It makes the community stronger, but it also I get better customer service from the local farm because I can handpick anything that I want. As we grow together, I can ask them to plant certain things that I want, and just the sense of community on a personal level that I get from working with local farmers, it's fulfilling. So, from a profitability standpoint, I think our business plan, our business model is to be small and start small and slow growth, and I think in time we'll prove that we can grow and be profitable. We don't have to make it all back in the first year. It'd be very easy to go not buy farm eggs. Farm eggs are difficult to source, and they're very expensive compared to a grocery store egg, but they're worth it. The quality's there.
Let me go back to you. Plan ET in the Knox Chamber and a number of folks in the region have been looking at skill gaps for the workforce, also looking at soft skill gaps. I had a conversation with some folks at the Brookings Institution when they were doing their work on the auto industry, a report that was released recently. They identified over the course of their studies some hard skill gaps, but also soft skill gaps. CBR, Center for Business and Economic Research, we have done some focus group interviews with business leaders here in Chattanooga. Joan, is that, if you recall, I think that's it. And we were particularly interested in hard skill gaps. What we found is soft skill gaps were really important. I did some work for the Southern Governors Association this year, and this is anecdote, proof by anecdote, if you will, but a lot of conversations about hard skill gaps. I can't find the right welder, I can't find this. But more and more, I see the focus on soft skills. So, do you have any suggestions? I mean, you're about as well versed in this as anybody in the room. The hard skill gaps, to some extent, we can address through formal education and training. But what do we do about the soft skill gaps that the absence of may deny somebody access to a good job?
Yeah, I think, Matt, that's a great question, because it gets to the heart of whether a company wants to hire a person. You know, I don't care how smart you are, if you're not going to show up for work, or if you're going to show up for work stoned, I don't want you working in my company. And Jim Clifton's great book. If you haven't read this book, it'll scare you to death, but you ought to read it. 3 billion people in the world looking for jobs today, and only 1.2 billion jobs to be had. And he makes the point that Matt has asked about. I'll tell you 2 quick ideas that we discovered here in Knoxville that I think work and help us get to the soft skills gap. The first is our birth to kindergarten program. Because a lot of these, as Matt alluded to earlier, a lot of these soft skills come from where? You think they come primarily from school? No. You've probably got most of them by the time you're 5 years old, right? You got them from your mom and dad if you were lucky. But a lot of our young parents, especially, really don't know how to impart these soft skills. And so our Birth to Kindergarten program through the Great Schools Partnership with Knox County Schools, we start working with moms before they even have their children, when they're still just pregnant. We contact with them as they begin dealing with their pregnancy. We work with the hospitals to identify young mothers after they have children. We work with the Dollywood Foundation to help them begin to read to their child 20 minutes every single day. And we also deal with a lot of the soft skills that are learned in parenting. How you discipline a child appropriately. How you discipline a child inappropriately. When you should take a child to see a doctor. When you should take a child to an emergency room, and so forth. And the other one I would say is our Community Schools Initiative. We're reclaiming schools as the heart of a community in Knoxville. The place where we come together and align all the resources to help kids be successful, and not just kids, but their families, back to soft skills. And so we're now in 7 schools. We hope to be in 10 next year, and those schools are open until late in the evening. We have dinner together, we have parenting classes, we have GED classes. We're addressing the whole child and the whole community in the Community Skills Initiative. So I would say, Matt, those are the 2 best ideas that we have on this right now. One is helping parents be better parents, and one is bringing all the resources of the community into the school to help nurture kids along in the proper way.
Stephanie and Matt, as young entrepreneurs, what kind of support or what things can you think of we do within our community to foster more entrepreneurship? The sorts of things based on your own experience. I'm going to talk longer to give you time here to think of the answer. The sorts of things that you might have experienced yourself as young business people, young entrepreneurs, but also, I'm assuming you're in a network of people, young and old, as entrepreneurs, and you're probably talking about the opportunities and the challenges within the community. So, do you have any suggestions for things that we could do as a community to further foster the growth of entrepreneurship? I can keep talking, but then...
Well, I don't know necessarily what the community can do, but opening a restaurant is different from opening a bookstore and opening a clothing store. There's a lot of regulation that goes into restaurants. You're feeding people what you're consuming, what you're preparing. So, that was a challenge for us. There's a lot beyond just cooking that you have to consider.
Is there an entrepreneurial group, club for young entrepreneurs? There is I don't even know if it's still around. It's SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives. That used to be retired business people who would provide business planning services, accounting services, and so on. Would those sorts of things be of value to young entrepreneurs?
I think so, yeah. A lot of what we did with our small restaurant, luckily it was small, so, we got our own agenda, but
You got your own.
there's a lot of questions. Sure, if they were a mentor in that regard would probably be beneficial.
Definitely that.
Well, I don't know if I'd categorize myself as an entrepreneur, but more like an emerging business, person, leader, or however you want to categorize it. But, just from my position, I've seen working with some of the charitable organizations that they offer some programs for entrepreneurs and young business, people or people wanting to get into the business world, classes and things like kind of like how you were mentioning. So I think maybe kind of publicizing that those opportunities are there, or a little bit more investment from the community to back programs like that would probably be helpful.
Well, we've got a great new entrepreneur center on Market Square Mall. Mayor Harold, what do we call it?
Knoxville Entrepreneur Center.
Knoxville Entrepreneur Center. Okay. So even I get it. Knoxville Entrepreneur Center, and it has all kinds of resources and supports in place to help young entrepreneurs. I'll tell you another great way to get kids interested in innovative business ideas. Take them to BizTown. Get your elementary school to take its 5th graders out to Anderson County's Junior Achievement Masterpiece out there, BizTown. And kids really suddenly see that life is more than just the possibility of practicing law or being a doctor. When I was a kid growing up watching television trying to figure out what I was going to do when I grow up, I didn't see business presented to me as a great career opportunity, but BizTown and Junior Achievement do that. So if you haven't got your elementary schools hooked up with BizTown, that's a great way to get them to begin thinking about becoming